Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the Emerald Planet and EmeraldPlanet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what Emerald Planet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet. Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Talking about the Northern Virginia Regional Commission, it's really interesting how the NVRC is actually bringing the world into not only Northern Virginia, but spreading many good ideas, the best practices, the solutions across the United States. This is a very important job, but at the same time, many people don't realize this is actually going on. So we have a gentleman that's joining us, Dale Medeiros, PhD, Senior Regional Planner for the Northern Virginia Regional Commission, is going to talk about the various things that we're learning from overseas and how these future applications are really going to help to change, to address climate change, to improve the environment, but also to enhance the economy and civil society development. Dale, welcome back to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Now, looking at, I'm going to let you introduce this gentleman who really has a very important part in the founding of the green infrastructure, the green nature of the United States. And what was his role? And why is it so important that we have to learn from the past, apply it in the current state, and then take it into the future?
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, Gifford Pinchot is considered the father of the American Forest Service. And the purpose of sharing this image is that when local governments, when we start the formal process of learning from abroad, it's so easy for critics to say, yeah, but we're America. If it wasn't invented here, forget it. Nothing will adopt, nothing will transfer, nothing can get applied. We're just so unique. We're Americans, we're exceptional. And the purpose of this image really is to communicate that learning from abroad is actually in our political DNA. 150 years ago, this was part of a very, very aggressive effort to learn from other countries. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of the Forest Service, when you look at what Stephen Mather did, when he put together the Park Service, he was looking at resource conservation and management practices in Switzerland. Our education system, the entire American university system was informed by universities in Munich and in Berlin. Social Security was coming at the same time. So this formal learning got lost over the last couple of decades. And what I'm trying to call to everyone's attention is that there was a past in which this was firmly ensconced in all aspects of government, formal, purposeful learning from abroad and applying innovations and lessons. It was part of our DNA.
Mm-hmm. It's very important that we do this. And of course, many societies, particularly after World War II, came here because of the destruction of Europe, almost obliteration of Japan and many countries in Asia. And so they came here. So this exceptionalism, it really is a new phenomenon of the United States because we were constantly going abroad and learning. So this beautiful scene that we have right here in front of us, Dale, how does this inform us of the better nature that we have and the better nature that we want to create, both as a people, but as the environment around us?
Well, it was an example of what Gifford Pinchot started as soon as he returned from Germany. Pinchot spent, I think, the better part of a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, studying forestry management and conservation practices in France and in Germany. And when he came back, He was commissioned to do some work in North Carolina around the Biltmore estate. And this was the first most concrete examples of that very successful transfer of forestry practices that led, as I suggested earlier, to this powerful transformation of environmental policy and programs of our country.
Yeah, and also at the same time is just looking at the Biltmore estate, the architecture and the flair, the style, the quality, the permanence that we really brought in from Europe. And of course, now many societies are doing the same thing in reverse. But we really need to go back to our roots and realize where we came from. And so, looking at the modern day society, I mean, how much more different can you get from this building into this? But yet, it's all part of the American society, and a lot of this again was borrowed from abroad.
Yeah. So the purpose of this image was to highlight that it wasn't just green infrastructure or forestry, but the applications in the Commonwealth from abroad, in this particular case of industrial ecology from Denmark. And the image on the right was the Ecological Industrial Park at Cape Charles, Virginia. Bill McDonough, together with a team from EPA 25 years ago, came together and wanted to explore how this idea of industrial symbiosis could play out near an old brownfield site on the eastern shore of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a small hand to play in bringing over some of the experts, the designers, the elected officials to look at this is back when I was at the Environmental Protection Agency, how the Columnburg Ecological Industrial Park could be applied to Cape Charles.
Yeah, and it's just amazing the metamorphosis all this has gone through. But looking at solar being incorporated as a roof system, being a part of development as far as subdivisions are concerned, why is that so important for an area like Northern Virginia?
Well, this image communicates what we were able to adopt in terms of solar mapping. The Germans in some regions like Stuttgart have done an absolutely incredible job of mapping assets and attributes related to solar. And we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could do something similar? So again, over a very sustained period of exchange, communication, technical visits, we took concepts from the solar atlas of not just Stuttgart, but Bottrop, and applied them into our own solar mapping that are fundamental to the Solarized NOAA program.
Now, this is a really an interesting use of international influence and style and process. And we were sharing this together the other day. Tell us the origin and how it's now being used in Northern Virginia.
Well, I think it highlights the importance of green design concepts coming over from in this case places like Germany and making their way in the Mosaic District of Fairfax. And you could argue that the new National Gallery on the left from Berlin is not maybe the embodiment of green design, but really the message was that the successful precedent of ideas coming from overseas being adopted right here in our backyard, B, the fun that you can have with this work. And then C, this will relate to a slide that I'll share with everybody else later on down the road that ties into some really fun, creative work involving brownfields revitalization, arts, and design.
And the whole thing about it, making it fun. I think this is something I like in your conversation. And looking at this, and you're going to explain what this is, but how the essence of fun and how the essence of beauty, we need to incorporate that into everything that we have. How can we learn from abroad how to do this and do it much better than we've had in the past?
Yeah, so thanks. So it's, this is an old steel factory in Duisburg, Germany, that was converted into a park. And the steel factory was once upon a time the model of economic viability for the region. It was coal and steel. The economic transformation and global shifts led to the closure of the steel factory and the neglect the derelict status of the steel factory led to a low self-esteem and despair among the people. So in the Ruhr Valley, they put together over a 20-year period this remarkable program called the International Building Exhibition, Hampshire Park. Green was fundamental to the revitalization process on a very, very large scale. We're talking something almost the size of Delaware. But they incorporated the arts as well. And I think that that's what's part of the joy of the learning process, is that green and all the engineering innovations that I've shared with you in the other earlier slides were absolutely fundamental to the regeneration, the renewal of this region. But so was the artistic component. And I think that this is what is valuable in terms of this particular slide.
Right. And I think that's very important, Dale, that we look at every aspect of this. And I think that's what I've been very impressed with you, is the balance that you want to bring. It's not only just the environment, the economy, civil society development, but also it's the culture, the arts, the history, the language, even the food is being reflected throughout many of these examples that you're sharing with us. And I think that's equally important. And then getting down to the necessity of just how do we clean the air, take care of the land, and also process the water, just like in this.
So this image was also important because it highlights the joy, the sense of peace that can be created in some of these old derelict brownfield sites, the power of green. And there's some interesting facts about the redevelopment of a lot of these projects, which is, yeah, it took a lot to clean them up and turn them into parks. There's also an economic payback. There are restaurants, there are cultural events at these parks that have ended up or resulted in the project basically paying for itself.
Yeah, and this is something your ancestral country of Portugal. I've traveled much of that country, and there's so many examples of how they've taken something very old, made it very new, but kept it very Portuguese, which I just think that balance is just absolutely incredible. And I think this goes to the heart of what you were just saying, Dale, as far as turning this in where people actually go, they enjoy, but it's also an economic engine.
Yeah. So this is the third of the three images of Duisburg Nord, the former steel factory. And again, representative, the real creativity that was applied to the revitalization of this, you know, could just as easily be found in places like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, or Cleveland, Ohio. And they took the ore bunkers and changed them into places where people can practice rappelling and mountain climbing. It's my understanding that this part of Germany, which is very, very flat, has the highest concentration of alpine certified trainers north of Frankfurt, or climbers north of Frankfurt. And there was actually thought given to, I think, a USX site outside Chicago for a similar concept. I don't think it ever took root, but it was fun to try to share the idea and see if it could be applied.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. We have just a couple of more. I'm just going to breeze through these, but looking at the concepts that you've just shared with us, Dale, how would you encapsulate that for our viewers, both here and abroad, about how we need to think about, again, economy, environment, and community development in ways that maybe we've never thought about it before?
Yeah, so this is an example of the transfer of Duisburg Nord to Buffalo, New York, where the old grain elevators along the Buffalo River, which were inspirations from Mies van der Rohe and Walter Gropius. Gropius did the New National Gallery, which was the museum in the image a few earlier. This is how everything has come full circle. We're taking these ideas from these old revitalized steel factories and park creation initiatives and applying them into Buffalo. And then with Amsterdam and New Orleans, we're seeing a similar transfer process of resiliency. How we come from the Dutch in ways that embody not just positive, healthy design, but promote social inclusion.
Fantastic. Dale Medeiros, thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
Thank you.